Hi, I'm Feroz Khan, and welcome to Drag and Drop Low Code Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the game changing impact of low code in software development. Join me in insightful conversations with IT leaders and passionate low code enthusiasts who are at the forefront of this digital evolution. Together, we'll explore how early adoption of low code is giving businesses a competitive edge on a global scale. We'll discuss its impact on software development, dissect its role in transforming businesses, and uncover the ways in which it's reshaping career trajectories. So whether you're a seasoned IT professional or a curious enthusiast, be sure to tune in as we share success stories and unravel the mysteries of low code. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a front row seat to the revolution that's shaping the future of technology. So let's go. Hi Derek, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you, Frost?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. I know we've been talking for a while, so it's great to. I know you're a busy guy, so it's good to have your time, and I appreciate you taking the time to be a guest.
Yeah, very, very glad to. As we've talked about, I definitely watch the podcast and, kind of look at how you're involved in everything. So glad to finally get a chance to catch up with you.
Appreciate it. It'd be great to, I think most people in the OutSystems, ecosystem probably know who you are, but just in case for those who don't know, it'd be good a little introduction, a bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from.
You bet. So, Derek Downs been with OutSystems a little over 5 years. Before that, I've always been in, kind of either the system integrator partner, technology, kind of world for most of my career. Prior to OutSystems, I was with Juniper Networks for about 9 years, stood up their GSI program. And now at OutSystems came in kind of to do the same, to be able to help to establish relationships with larger partners, global technology partners, and then recently, past few years, have shifted to help focus on the Americas specifically and how we build out the channels and alliances. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm based in kind of the DFW area, usually on a plane someplace,
Yeah.
and have built just some great friendships. Relationships. It's a fantastic ecosystem that we have, built up around OutSystems.
Yeah. And, when obviously with your role in building the partnerships, what are the kind of key criteria you look at when kind of, making someone a partner? Because obviously that's not just anyone can say, okay, I want to be a partner and they sign up. What's the kind of, especially for kind of the Americas, what are you looking for to, when you're getting these partners in place?
No, it's a great question, and I would say that we've kind of been exploring that over time, and it's changed a little bit as we've gone. But I think one of the most important things that we look for is a partner, one that there's somebody kind of at a senior level that understands the space, kind of
Yeah.
the whole how do we build applications, development, the whole process, for doing that, and has a vision for how they're going to leverage, a low code platform like OutSystems, as part of that. But beyond it, we start to see they actually have to be, partners that are trusted advisors for their customers in leading a lot of that digital transformation, and that they approach it with kind of this design thinking, agile approach, which is, very different from kind of a traditional waterfall, or
Oh,
traditional development kind of, model. So we see partners that are really in that mode. They're trying to help their customers leapfrog and really transform their businesses tend to be a really, really good fit for us. And then the other thing we look at is that it's a partner that's doing, heavy lifting. So if it's
yeah.
just kind of lightweight applications, or it's just, extra technology to add to the toolkit, a lot of times OutSystems isn't the best fit.
Mhm.
But if it's a platform that's needed for the heavy lifting, enterprise grade, really tackling the challenging problems, then we tend to be a great fit for those partners.
Yeah. And is it usually a case, obviously I think, you're looking at key partnerships and you're researching which companies are doing these things and ticking these criteria. Are you ever in cases where you might approach a large kind of well-known business for the partnership and they're not really aware of OutSystems or heard of OutSystems and low code before?
It's definitely the case. And I think in a lot of those cases, what we found is that's where we trust the relationships that are established already by the partner. They're already the trusted advisor. So
Yeah,
when they're coming in, they're speaking more to kind of best practice. How could that particular customer, approach solving some of their challenges,
yeah,
faster and better? And then they introduce OutSystems as part of that. So we've seen a number of cases where the partner is actually the one leading that conversation.
yeah, yeah. And obviously, other platforms have partners, and how do you kind of make yourself unique to be different from other partner programs?
Yeah, I think that's one area where a lot of times we're learning from partners. There's
Mm,
times that some things we do really well, and some things we don't, and we have challenges just like any software or ISV technology partner. Um, I would say one thing we really strive to do though is to establish the relationships, and together we determine, hey, what's our joint plan? If we identify, certain accounts, certain customers, we're going in together, and we build that kind of alignment in how we're engaging. Within that, I would say it's definitely part of the process, though, where we build that trusted relationship over time, and we get a whole lot better together in how we're going to market. It's a lot of times it's a work in progress just for us to continually improve how well we engage together.
yeah. And have you found, obviously, focusing on the Americas region, do you feel that kind of is quite different when you're working in the European market with partners? It's a different type of relationship.
I do. I think, I know a lot of times some people get tired of hearing, oh, yeah, yeah, the US market is different.
Yeah.
But in reality, there are some very unique aspects. I would say, even with the size and scope of a number
Mm,
of the enterprise companies, and then the way in which they kind of force um, engagement with them and partnerships with them. So it's a little bit different model, I think, in how to engage. So we have to take that into consideration, certain market requirements or expectations in how we partner. But I do see that I think OutSystems, we've matured quite a bit, over the past several years, just in how we're engaging with, partners, and how we're starting to build our territory plans, our go to market. It's matured a lot that I think it's helped us to even know what information we can provide for our partners to try and be a better partner. Yeah,
yeah,
within that.
yeah. And with all these kind of partners that you have, obviously they're all kind of vying for these projects, right? They're up. Ultimately, they're against each other to win these projects, right? How do you kind of balance that to kind of make sure partners, obviously, they feel they're getting the value from OutSystems and not kind of losing out to someone else?
No, it's a great. To me, that's a big part of why we need to do the joint planning together. Within that process, we're able to identify, hey, what are the particular industries or domain segments where we're going to focus together,
Yeah,
and we look to leverage the partners, kind of differentiators. So we know the OutSystems platform is it's a horizontal platform that can be used for building anything,
yeah,
and so we really look for how do we line up behind what the partner is trying to differentiate as part of their go to market. And if we do that, we start to see that there's not as much conflict when
yeah,
we're kind of aligned behind that go to market. When conflict does happen, we try to make sure that we um, create kind of fair engagement and transparent communications, just to be able to work through any channel conflict.
yeah, yeah. And a question I had was, obviously, with customers delivering consultancies delivering projects for customers, and we're in a kind of market where companies are trying to save money, cut costs. Do you feel the kind of end customers are still quite open to working with partners, or they're kind of leaning towards building their own teams, or kind of hybrid bit of both?
I really think it's kind of the hybrid bit of both. We see that there's absolutely the pressure for customers to do more with less. I think that's also why a lot of the partners are able to say, you know what, we could probably leverage OutSystems
Mm,
to be more cost effective and to help meet those requirements for our customers faster, and just to help them to achieve those results. We found the partners that do that tend to become more valuable to that customer and differentiate themselves. And for some customers where they determine, hey, you know what, we want to try and be as autonomous as we can, we'll use partners, but we're going to use them, for very specific or complex or expert services. So we see
yeah.
that some customers start to do a hybrid, but a number of customers have found they'll lean more heavily on a partner that is able to contribute to helping them reduce costs and deliver faster.
Yeah, yeah. And when in your role, obviously it's not just you. There's a team around you as well, and there's a big team. Is there some common challenges that you come across, or even something from when you started to now that you've kind of changed, in the processes of the channel partners? How have you dealt with that?
Yeah, I would say, one thing that comes to mind is OutSystems. Really, our messaging was kind of platform oriented, but it was usually, hey, you can, build apps fast with less people. And we really had all of our messaging around the technology itself. And I would say we've learned through that to where now we've started to pivot more to place the spotlight on the customer and the customer outcomes. What are the benefits? What are they really experiencing? What are they achieving? And I think as we've been doing that, it also creates a much better opportunity to highlight the partner, because the partner has been
Yeah,
very involved in driving those outcomes. So I think we're in a position where we're looking to showcase partners more as part of that overall success story.
yeah. And I think obviously it also shows, in Amsterdam you had like the awards for partners, and I know the partners awards was after Amsterdam, but in Amsterdam, right? I'm
Yes.
keen to know kind of, you have these awards, kind of what's the criteria you go through when you kind of, who's the top partner, and, how do you kind of determine that?
So it kind of varies. So we have different awards throughout the year. We have some awards that are very metrics based. So it is clear,
Yeah.
that whoever is achieving kind of the highest metrics, it's
Yeah.
it's all data driven and very, very clear. We have some awards that are a bit more subjective, but it's really tied to success of end customers. What we're seeing as far as innovation, that's being done. And even in Amsterdam, that was one change that we made. This was the first year where for the customer awards, we made sure that we highlighted the partners as part of
Yeah, I saw
those
that on the
customer
screen. Yeah.
innovation awards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we also had innovation awards for, partners, that they had done in addition to the normal partner acknowledgments. And so it really just depends. But in most cases, we kind of collectively work with the team and speak with a lot of individuals kind of involved to land on, what are those really kind of standout, showcase examples.
And I think, from Amsterdam and other conferences, you can, when you see the partners, not only the ones with the booths and the kind of stands, you can see that partnership with OutSystems is very strong, and it's very kind of, it's a really good relationship, and you can see they really believe in the platform, which is why they're so, I think Amsterdam was, it was a different feeling, everyone got together, I think even I didn't expect it to be as good as what it was.
Yeah.
Did you feel that?
It was a great event. And I think just the energy,
Mm,
kind of excitement, because of the fact that OutSystems, back in 2001. I mean, it's a lot of years
Yeah.
for companies and
Yeah.
this whole ecosystem to build strong, deep relationships. But we also had a lot of first time people
Yeah.
just, coming there that, came up to me and said, wow, this is
Yeah.
amazing. And I think a big part of that is just because where we're at in the market, the timing is
Mm.
there. We're at this crossroads, especially with Gen AI combined with
Yeah.
low code, and we see that customers have really started to understand how to adopt. We see the maturing that's happening in the market. I think it's just created kind of this perfect storm. But
Yeah.
yeah, the event was fantastic. I mean, it was
Yeah.
really exciting to see.
Yeah, and we discussed it offline that you like having someone from Gartner there to kind of validate low codes here. It's not going to be kind of taken over. It's key, and people should still consider it. I think was real a game changer for people and change their kind of mindset.
I had so many people, both partners as well as some of our
Yeah,
customers and prospects that we're talking with, and they said, "Wow!" They said it really helps kind of to hear it, from Gartner, because a
yeah,
lot of them were feeling it. I think this in over kind of late last year into
mm,
this year, we just felt the market kind of pause,
yeah,
and just to hold on. And I heard so many times I was hearing, well, wait a minute, should I really make this investment in low code?
yeah,
Because, really, Gen AI is just going to eat low code. It's going to
yeah,
now do everything. And I think there's been enough time and enough experience that, the market customers have
yeah,
come to the realization, hey, this is not, kind of the, uh, catch all that solves
yeah,
all world problems. We really see that, hey, wait a minute, I can get all of the power, all of the benefit from Gen AI, but I can also plug it directly into a low
yeah,
code platform that gives me the governance, security, protection, and compliance. And okay, together, I can actually act now instead of having to do, all these science projects. And it's exciting for me that we're seeing Gartner and Forrester and all the analysts capture what's been
yeah.
happening and now help provide that guidance.
Yeah, and I think even from me personally, I went to the Gartner conference earlier in the year, and I think
Yeah.
there's been a shift just in the last 12 months, even because earlier in the year when I went to the one in Vegas, all the kind of sessions that were AI focused were really full, and I went to the low
Yes.
code sessions, which were not so much full. The OutSystems
Exactly.
booth was actually quite busy because they were presenting Agent Builder and the AI kind of features. Um, but now I think it's kind of slowly the dust has settled where everyone kind of now figured out a bit about AI, how they can take it forward, and actually can work with low code quite well.
Exactly. And I think that's where, again, I give all the credit to, our leaders, I look at, Paolo Rosado early on, when he was helping to shape kind of the whole low code
Yeah,
category and kind of what that really meant. And I see that same thing happening now with kind of generative software and kind of this
yeah,
new era that we're moving into where there is the expectation that you can just provide your requirements and inputs, and it will build the applications for you, like with Mentor and other tool sets that are out
yeah,
there. So I think we're right at the point where we're moving into that kind of new space. And it's exciting for me, that OutSystems is helping lead the way, within that, for our customers. So and with our partners. And that's one thing I
yeah,
do think that we need to do a better job of, and we're working to catch up,
yeah,
is to create the space for our partners really to be involved and influence how that is being done. So we're putting some programs in place to
yeah.
do a better job of that.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned Mentor. I think the timing for Mentor was great. It's really kind of created a buzz around, and it's kind of, it's really a lot of people are still talking about it 1 month on, so I think it's definitely a good thing going into 2025. I think everyone's eager to kind of play around with it whenever they can get the opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's the point. I mean, the demand we had coming out of the one conference was
Mm.
a bit overwhelming,
Yeah,
with the desire to be part of that. And so we have our teams kind of vetting through kind of the early adoption
Yeah.
and how we're managing and capturing all that input and engagement, so that we can make sure that, Mentor is going to be just rock solid and, the ahead of, kind of anybody else in the market and how to be able to drive generative software development. And so I think 25 is going to be a great year for us. It's going to be a great
Yeah.
year for our partners. So together we'll lean in and help drive that for our collective customers.
Yeah. I was going to ask about, the next 4 to 5 years, but I'll actually change that to, what's your kind of thoughts on 2025? And, you've kind of touched on it, but, what's your expectation for, especially the US North American market for 2025?
Yeah, when I look at the Americas, especially North America,
Mm.
I think this year we were all kind of dealing with some overarching, kind of market trends. Some of
Yeah.
that was, geopolitical types of
Yeah.
instability or
Yeah.
indecision, trying to figure out with
Yeah.
elections happening.
Yeah.
We saw some of the economic uncertainty.
Yeah.
Um, People were just dealing with inflation, dealing with lots of things. So we
Yeah.
saw customers, kind of pausing a bit.
Yeah.
And then all of the Gen AI, what does it mean? What do we do? So fast forward to 25, I feel like we're at a point where, okay, we now have some of the market trends stabilizing. We at least know where we're at, know where we're going. We're already hearing from customers and prospects that, okay, I can chart my path now. I also get it that Gen AI isn't going to do everything. It's the
Yeah.
better together, Gen AI low code. I feel like we're in a spot that partners are going to be able to be the trusted advisor to say, okay, now you're ready to make some
Yeah.
decisions. Now you're ready to realize the value, and our partners can chart the course very, very quickly, help them just with a guided path on how to realize the value, of the platform. So I'm very, very bullish on 25. I'm excited
Yeah.
to, 24 is a little bit painful for
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm really, really looking forward to 25.
Yeah, and I think it's not just America, it's globally really. 24 has been, I think a lot of people can't wait to see the back of it and kind of start the new year and really kind of go
I
for
think
it.
it's the case. Yeah, because I
Yeah,
mean we have in all markets, and that's where I mean I look at how well OutSystems overall did perform
yeah,
in spite of all of that,
yeah,
and so it really gives. I'm encouraged that if we could
mhm,
do that in these kind of headwinds,
yeah,
then I'm real excited as soon as we get a little wind in our sails and
yeah,
behind us next year.
yeah. And with low code out systems, obviously it's much larger in Europe compared to North America. Have you found, especially with feedback from partners, when they're kind of obviously out systems are bringing in leads, partners are bringing in leads. Do you find, do you get any feedback that a lot of people still are unaware or skeptical of low code out systems, or it's very kind of more positive and they may not adopt it, but they're a lot open to listening to what you have to say?
I do think we're seeing that the market has matured quite a bit. So I think low code, no code has definitely crossed the chasm. We're also seeing one of the most important aspects is, early on, especially in the North America market, I felt like when we were selling into enterprise, we were selling into a department. A
Yeah,
lot of times the department was frustrated with central IT, and so they kind of wanted to do their own. But when it came to, hey, let's go expand inside that account, they were hesitant. They wanted to keep this story to themselves. And so we really found ourselves kind of locked in early on. Fast forward to where we are now, we have companies making corporate wide, enterprise wide decisions on how to put the low code platform in place. And that's completely changed the way we engage. So we've gotten a lot better at how do we articulate our security posture, how do we speak to enterprise architecture boards. So I think there's a lot that's occurred there that really helps partners, and how we can support them. And now it's created the opportunity where partners can have much larger types of discussions. We have customers that have done large enterprise deployments. So there's some better proof points, too. So I think people know low code, so at least it
Yeah.
starts the discussion. By no means is OutSystems, kind of a household brand yet, but
Yeah.
I'm counting on next year being a lot of progress that direction.
Yeah. But I think it also helps, just speaking from the conference, the brand names of businesses that you had on the stage, they're all pretty global, right? And really well known. And the fact that obviously, like you said, you highlighted the partners who delivered for those customers. You had people on the stage, Benfica and, Oceaneering and, Heineken and all these companies,
Yeah.
everybody knows kind of who they are. And if surely, even new partners and customers, when they see these brands, they must think, okay, if that business has adopted OutSystems, it must be worth a look.
We're definitely seeing that, and that's where I see, when you have enterprise brands that people are very, very familiar with that are um, going through the process to figure out what's the best way for us to solve this, and they're selecting OutSystems as part of their overall tech stack to do that. There's credibility there, and fortunately, um, I feel like we're at a position where even from just having the logo because they bought us and we're in a corner,
Yeah.
we really have the customer success stories now and references where, oh, wait a minute, they're doing really major enterprise level, full scale deployments. Um, and that's something that I think partners can really, really get excited about because, I look at the success OutSystems is having, but we tend to see, as far as the services portion of that, it's, 6 times plus,
Yeah.
any of the license revenue. So, there's an ecosystem out there of 1 billion plus in services, every year. And so it's definitely, there's opportunity for partners to really, really have a successful practice built around OutSystems.
Yeah. And I think, it's also great that, obviously we work with some partners, so we know who they are. And, you've got kind
Yeah.
of all levels of partners from kind of smaller partners, they're probably only well known in North America to the very large, well known KPMGs, IBM's kind of
Yep.
level consulting partners. And, I was in Vegas and Laura and IBM were presenting together. And I think those things also add to the credibility because obviously everyone knows IBM, right? So to see you're standing next to, like you said, it's not, might not be that big brand yet, but the fact that it's standing next to IBM holds a bit of weight, definitely.
No, it's definitely the case. And I would say, again, from an OutSystem standpoint out of Portugal, there's been some strong relationships with some of the larger partners, as well as just the strong community of committed specialty partners.
Mm,
Um, what I've seen though is we've started to expand that. So with the larger partners, we have significance with them in kind of countries all around the world in all geos,
yeah,
and so it's really elevated kind of the relevance that we have with a lot of those partners. And then we started to continue to create opportunity for specialty partners, around the world. And we found that because our customers are so diverse, there's a place for all partners, in how we engage. I think it's us just being able to be very, very proactive together in being intentional about those particular segments and where we focus together.
yeah. And, I think also, the question for you would be, with these kind of larger partners who are kind of, global, right? And you getting that
Yeah.
partnership with them, there's obviously other low code platforms also trying to be in partnership with them. So how do you try and obviously the platform speaks for itself, but how else do you try and differentiate yourself to kind of be the low code platform of choice? So when they're going to when they're kind of presenting a low code solution, OutSystems is their kind of go to.
No, it's a great question, and I think the reality is first we recognize that especially a lot of the larger partners have to be a trusted advisor and agnostic to some extent for their customers. So two things are really important for us. One is a coexistence strategy. So as opposed to us saying, hey, it's OutSystems is the center of the universe and therefore we can do everything.
Yeah.
It's really recognizing that a lot of enterprises actually have multiple platforms, inside the organization. We know that enterprises are going to have Microsoft Power Apps for
Yes.
departmental types of applications. And so we help partners to understand where we fit. How do we coexist? And hey, when is it best practice to take advantage of an OutSystems as opposed to leverage some of the existing kind of core systems that are there? And I think as we kind of map that out, it becomes very, very clear. And then the second thing that we do is we try to find very specific solution offerings where we can say, hey, lead with this, and it happens to be OutSystems that's doing it, but you can go ahead and speak to the benefits of that. And when we've done those things, we see it kind of creates clear space, for OutSystems.
Yeah. And that's something we kind of, when I'm speaking to customers who have used or still use Power Apps, and I ask them why did they adopt OutSystems, they say, we've built stuff and there's a ceiling, and we eventually can't go beyond. So that's why we're doing both, right? We've got Power Apps developers, but now we're gonna use OutSystems to kind of go more enterprise level, kind of large scale, compared to more internal applications.
That's definitely the case, and I think just like you said, Feroz, I think being able to provide some of that guidance, because a lot of customers and prospects, they've heard, okay, low code, no code, and they think, kind of one size fits all, and it's all the same. So as we've seen the market mature to understand that, well, wait a minute, I use OutSystems if it's mission critical, heavy lifting, very, complex. I need to be able to have all the security controls, everything in place, versus, hey, it's departmental, it's not as critical, and, kind of individuals can kind of just build some things. It's very, very different requirements. And we're seeing that, customers are starting to understand, that, and therefore it's creating space, for all of us to coexist.
Yeah. And, for, with your strategy, kind of what are you trying to do to kind of make sure you guys are kind of always ahead, and, your partners are also equipped to kind of really, they're an extension to your brand, right? So, what are you kind of doing to make sure them and yourselves are kind of ahead of the rest of the pack?
No, I that's something that's very, very important, I would say, at OutSystems, and built into the culture. From early days, it was always how do we pioneer and how do we drive towards that point, which is going to be the absolute best for the end customer. And we speak to it a lot. We have a mantra of customer first, partner always. We're trying to build that into even how we share in that innovation. So how do we give the right access, visibility? We've tried to accelerate to anything we're sharing with our sales field or our solution architects or our teams, that we're also sharing that with partner teams. So from a communication, just availability of information within our partner center, making sure that the knowledge portal has the latest and greatest, and even work that our professional services teams do. How do we make sure that that's available so that there's not a conflict or competitive position between OutSystems, professional services, but we're actually fully aligned and working to make sure that our partner community is, kind of in lockstep, with us.
Yeah, it's great you answer that, because obviously from the outside, someone might think, okay, well, these OutSystems competing with partners for professional services, but you're actually working together quite often to partner on these projects.
I would say even the majority of the time, because when we go through and really look, there is a board level decision inside OutSystems to say, our OutSystems professional services, we're not trying to, grow that
Yeah.
as the big part of the business. We're really trying to say, how do we make sure that we're absolutely meeting the requirements of some of our most complex customers that just demand that we have, direct involvement there. But in most cases, again, customer first, partner always, even within our professional services, the intention is to figure out how do we build the robust nature of our partner ecosystem to handle all of the scale, all and the majority of all of the application development and
Yeah.
delivery. How do they pick all that up? And then we'll support them and we'll
Yeah.
help support, enable, and provide expert services.
Yeah. And do you find yourself sometimes in a situation where a customer may purchase the platform, and obviously, you're obviously going in with the partner kind of approach, but obviously they would be like, well, we're buying the platform off you. We want you to deliver. We want OutSystems to deliver the project. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so there are sometimes, but I would say it's not real common because we build into our kind of sales process and our engagement with prospects to educate them on the importance, of partners. And then we also have, when we go through and we look at our internal data, we see that the most successful outcomes are when it's OutSystems and a partner
Yeah.
involved. We see that it's when we're driving towards time to first value. How do we help that customer get very, very successful and get
Mm.
value out of the platform very quickly? How do we drive adoption and therefore expansion and growth within that environment? We see that when a partner is involved, that increases dramatically. And so therefore we see, just the benefits associated to that end customer are drastically increased. So we're actually working to try and make sure that we're helping convince our prospects and our
Yeah.
customers why they need to have a trusted partner working hand in hand with us.
And I guess having the partner involved in the process early on helps kind of get the, rather than
It,
waiting there quite
it,
early
it
in the
absolutely
process.
does. Yeah, and I think part of that is also a little bit of a change, that we've had on the OutSystem side. I know at least in the Americas, because a lot of times we were in a position where we would go ahead and kind of lead that whole initial discussion, and then
Mm.
we would pull in a partner when it was time to figure out kind of the
Yeah.
SOW and the delivery.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we've shifted that to say, you know what, we actually need partners involved early because they know how to have a conversation that is
Mm.
more relevant to that specific industry, that specific use case, that specific customer. And so we're working to try and pull in partners earlier, sometimes proactively, where, we even determine where we're going together, and we're hand in hand in those very first conversations. But even in some where a prospect's coming to us and we're getting involved in the conversation, very quickly we're saying, hey, who's the right partner to pull in because they have domain
Yeah.
expertise. And so that's some guidance we're giving our partners right now too is, hey, let's do a better job of even capturing and understanding how you as a partner are focusing. How do you
Yeah.
differentiate with
Yeah.
certain, you know, domains or
Yeah.
solutions, and how do we highlight that?
They can have like a target market, make themselves unique. So, and then have use cases on those kind of markets to make themselves strong.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Amazing. And, just a final question. You touched on 2025, but, for you personally, kind of, any kind of, goals, ambitions, I know you'll be probably traveling a lot again, around the world, but, anything you've set for yourself to achieve in the next year?
Yeah, I would say within the next year, for me, it's kind of the year of the partner from the standpoint. I feel like we have learned so much and we put some good structure in place. Um, I think it's the opportunity for us to just have a breakout year and
Yeah.
to be able to demonstrate really the full power of the partner ecosystem to drive scale and growth. And so internally, we've got a lot of targets. Naturally, targets are always, kind of bigger and
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
ambitious,
Yeah.
than we always want. But I'm excited because I really think 25 will be a breakout year where, for OutSystems and our partner ecosystem, I think we're going to, when we talk this time next year, I think we'll be
Yeah,
able to look back and say, man, what an amazing year.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
with what we were able to do collectively for customers, out there to experience.
yeah. Amazing, amazing. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. It was great to speak to you and, hear what you've done and what the plans are. And hopefully 2025 is great for everybody. And, we
Yes.
continue to look forward to working with you as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, inviting me and letting me have the chance. And it's always a pleasure to get to catch up with you, for us.
Thanks, Derek.
All right, take care.
You too. Thank you for listening to today's episode, which is brought to you by ITRAC. We are a leading staffing firm that solely specializes in supplying both contract and permanent low-code professionals to organizations globally. Navigating the niche landscape of the low-code market requires the best talent, and we recognize its critical importance for our clients. Whether you're a company looking to strengthen your team, an individual seeking the next career move, or someone entirely new to the world of low-code, we're here for you. Our extensive experience and in-depth market knowledge enables us to quickly pinpoint the ideal candidates while offering expert advice and support at every stage of your low-code journey. Reach out to us through our website or connect with me directly on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to assist you. Thank you once again for joining us today. We'll be back next week with another insightful episode. Until then, take care.